Hello everyone, this is Jagati Soni and this is another video on critical appreciation of art test liquor never brewed. So these are the outline. First is about the poetess, then critical appreciation and at last conclusion. So the poetess is actually Emily Dickinson. So she was born on December 10, 1830 in Amherst, Massachusetts, US and she died on 15th May 1886 at the age of 55 in Amherst, Massachusetts, US. By occupation she was a poet and alma mater was Mount Holyoke Female Seminary, and notable works by her were like this: our test liquor never brewed, because I could not stop for that, light exists in spring, and many more. So here we go with our critical appreciation of the poem. We will study all these points one by one. First is overview. So, the speaker in this poem, our test liquor never brewed, indulges in natural intoxication. She experiences ecstasy in the lap of nature. She is identified with meadows, sky, flowers, and butterflies. She tests a liquor never brewed, that is not prepared by man. This is important line, which is not prepared by man. So the poem appeared in the Springfield Republication with its tribute to the hummingbird, an inebriate of air and debauchee of dew. At times, Dickinson was also critical of the virginal life and found herself driven to imagine poetic alternatives. Next slide is about poem. So this is all the poem is about. I have covered it stanza by stanza. You can read by pausing the video. And the next is about summary. So the first stanza shows that the poetess has never tasted this rare quality of alcohol before in her life. The grammar of the second line is quite ambiguous. The tankard may be places for real alcohol or they may be her drinking vessels. Her pearl means rarity of experience. So here I would like to say you about what is ambiguous. Ambiguous is something which shows us not the exact meaning but something different meaning and shows some other meaning also on the same place. And in first stanza we can say like this, that it is gradually known that a liquor never consumed must be spiritual origin or not an earthly drink because of its uncommon taste. This liquor is far superior to all the vats of the Rhine and a distant romantic place. This shows that she is at home in her limited surroundings and has no desire to opt for the remote places. Stanza second says that she is intoxicated by fragrance of the summer days, which appears to be endless. The formal diction of inebriate and debauchee light-heartedly spiritualizes the intoxication. Dickinson creates her scene of endless summer in a very few suggestive images like that of a molten blue, the bees, flowers, and butterflies being sufficient. The word molten gives the simultaneously the sense of liquid sky along with the feeling of dissolving into the sky. It is also a symbol of spiritual liquid being consumed. The simplification imparts to the speakers, revealing a childlike quality in keeping with the poem's quick transformation of the sensuous into the spiritual. And the third stanza on your screen shows that no one can possess the natural things. It is further suggested that when the butterflies have had their fill of nectar, the speaker will go on enjoying nature's spiritual abundance. Here, her continued drinking shows her insensibility but may also imply the victory of her imagination over the decline of summer. Stanza 4 shows that she has left for heaven, perhaps by way of sunbeams or and heavenly angels come to the windows of paradise to see this spiritual drunkard leaning against the sun for rest. Next slide is about meter of the poem. So, artist Liquor Never Brewed celebrates the intoxication of life in an ironic way. It is in ballad meter with iambic lines that alternate 4 and 3 beats between each line. The syllable count is not very strict and it has a more intimate tone. Next slide is about attitude towards nature. So, Emily Dickinson describes an intoxicated identification of self with nature without the alienation that haunts some of her other poems. Unlike most of the nature poems, this one describes not a scene but a state of mind. However, Dickinson's views of nature was neither quiescent nor sentimental. She saw that operations of nature are largely invisible as well as hostile to humanity. And next is about parody. I Taste a Liquor Never Brewed has been compared to Emerson's Bacchus. It is a parody of the poem Bacchus. The comparison is interesting, but the poems are different in tone. The Emerson poems communicating an intense pathos, much more reminiscent of the Emily Dickinson in her poems, which deal with her deck contemplations of the mysteries of the cosmic process. So this is a parody actually. And next is spiritual experiences. The explosive energy of Dickinson's poetry asserted itself from the first Valentine and lasted almost for to her death. At times she felt drunk with spiritual energy, inebriate of air I am, and debauchery of dew, but drunk in a way that sent reeling into the heavens. Dickinson's works cannot be controlled, but it retains the ecstasy that accompanied its creation. What the poet is ecstatic about is not the world as such, but the world as transformed by the poetic version. The liquor she states tests is no actual alcohol but a liquor never brewed. That so thus the poet's ecstasy originates more in her own attitude than in anything external. These summer days are endless. So this is next is about metaphor. So the metaphor inebriate of air is to be exhilarated, excited, and overwhelming delighted by summer skies. The debauchery of air is a fantasy and it is a delightful image. It is in fact an image of delight embodied. Next is about annotation. So there are many annotation like liquor is used for alcohol or wine. Brewed means taken or consumed. Tankards means places for real alcohol or drinking vessels, you can say. Yield imparts and gives. Inebriate means intoxicated. Molten blue means liquid sky. It can be spiritual liquor being drunk. Renounce means give up. Seraphs means angels. Saints means angels. Little tipplers means spiritual drunkards, and leaning means bending. So these were all annotation in the poem, and at last I will move to conclusion, which is the term theme can be defined as the underlying meaning of a story. It is a message the writer is trying to convey through the story. Often, the theme of a story or a poem is a broad message about life. The theme of the story or the theme of the poem is important because a story's theme is part of the reason why the author got the story. So, this is all about it. Thank you for now.